Here's the true story about this episode. This episode is about popcorn, and popcorn is my favorite food. That's right. A food I think about daily, a food I make all the time, a food I am obsessed with and gives me great joy and great pleasure. There are 2 steps. One is popping to perfection, no kernel left unpopped. The second stage is my 7 spice blend, which makes the popcorn more delicious than nacho cheese Doritos, period. And depending on your household, this recipe is written to serve 4 people or 1 person. And that 1 person is this person. Popping popcorn on the stovetop. This is not a microwave situation. This is not an air pop situation. Popping in a closed environment with a generous amount of oil is the best way to prep a kernel for then receiving my magical 7 spice blend. There was a time in my life when 2 tablespoons of popcorn was the right amount for a personal pan popcorn. Then we moved up to 3 tablespoons of kernels for personal pan popcorn. And now I'm unabashedly and shamelessly at half a cup, which is an amount that I can definitely take down, but it is also an amount that were someone to come along while half a cup of popcorn was popping, I would be able to give away a small amount. This is about my popcorn journey. If you look at recipes, like half a cup is like a party size. Just depends what kind of party you're going to. I'm using peanut oil. You can use regular vegetable oil. I don't bother popping in something nice like olive oil. I'll use that as a seasoning later. There's no measuring of the right amount of oil for the kernels because it could totally depend on the dimensions of your pot. But I've added enough oil to very generously coat the kernels because they need to be coated in order to distribute the heat and create steam has to happen in here. And if you don't have enough oil, the kernels are gonna burn and char. So nice amount of oil, lots of oil, don't need to measure the oil going onto the stove. I'm gonna start by putting this over medium-high to warm up the oil. And when the oil is warm, I'll be able to tell because it thins out a little bit and is less viscous. That's when you wanna throw the lid on. Sizzling. Popping. Oh my God. The excitement. I mean, that noise it is so exciting. It's like fireworks. We started slow, pop, pop here, there. Now we're in like steady party mode, like it's fully happening. And at that stage, I do nudge the heat down just a little bit to medium because a lot of heat has built up inside the Dutch oven and we're maintaining that heat instead of like going even hotter and scorching the bottom. Over the years as well, popcorn has become one of my just tried and true procrastination techniques because when you're doing something that you don't want to do, of course, immediately the mind goes to popcorn. And then there's the time that you have to take away from the work or whatever it is that you don't want to do to make the popcorn. But then the payoff really comes after that when you have the popcorn because you can't do anything because your hands are in the thing and it's like all the seasonings and the spices. So if you bring the popcorn back to the computer where you're gonna type, you quickly learn that you cannot. So it's active procrastination. It's very productive procrastination, but it is a total removal from chore procrastination. Oh. I'm using a type of popcorn called butterfly popcorn that I get at Calustian's. You can use whatever kernel is in your like kernel drawer. It's cool. I have like 7 different kinds of popcorn, but these do puff up like they're huge. They have that like Cracker Jack vibe. So enjoyable. And then I do at the very beginning like to just kind of take a gander and we're looking pretty good. But you really find out if you have unpopped kernels when you dump them out. Because if you do, they're at the bottom. Okay. Okay, it's okay. I don't see any unpopped. I see a couple that got a little dark, but that's okay. All right, so now you want to work like quickly with the spices, and all of the measurements for these things are going to be in the recipe that's linked in the description. But I started by a little bit of olive oil, and then kind of depending on how much oil there was for popping in the first place. Sometimes I feel like there was just enough oil and the kernels might look a little bit thirsty. These looked really like nice and glossy coming out of the pot. So I might use a little bit less. But the oil is important, and it's important because it gives the spices something to stick to. I prefer oil over butter because butter congeals unless you're gonna go to the trouble of making clarified butter. But even then, when it cools down, it gets like thick and kind of gross. So I like the flavor fine, but I also prefer the flavors of all of this. So that's why it's olive oil for me. Okay, kosher salt. Evenly salted. I am the lady who brings nutritional yeast to the movie theater. I'm that lady. I am that mom. If I'm eating movie theater popcorn, there's nutritional yeast in my bag or in my coat pocket. Nutritional yeast is delicious. It is umami flavor. It is rich and cheesy. And it's just amazing on popcorn. It goes amazing with salt. This is why you have to start with so much, because there's a lot of tasting as you go. Aleppo pepper. Good amount. You can use crushed red chili flakes. If you need to, you can use gochugaru. You could leave them out if you really don't like the spice. But I did make a promise about a nacho cheese vibe, and so the red chili flavor is pretty important. This is just black pepper, granulated garlic, aka, well, it's actually different than garlic powder, and I prefer granulated garlic, but either one. MSG makes everything taste better, especially popcorn. There's definitely MSG in your nacho cheese Doritos. I have a friend who also takes popcorn really seriously, and she makes a powder out of the nutritional yeast and the pepper flake, and feels that the powder adheres a little bit better. There's no way I'm gonna get out the blender to make popcorn, but I know that some people do swear by it. I actually kind of live for the overabundance of spices that have bounced off and accumulate at the bottom of the bowl, which means that like that last quarter of the bowl of popcorn, you can use the kernels as a type of primitive scooper and hold it this way and then drag the kernel through the spice garden that accumulates at the bottom, and then you just get like the popcorn gets better and better the deeper into the bowl that you get. So I just don't see it as a bad thing. The ultimate act of luxury and the ultimate act of rebellion and anarchy, as I see it, is to eat this in bed. That is like the most irresponsible thing that you could possibly do. I have done it 3 times in my life, and when I do bring the popcorn into bed, something is very wrong. I'm like sick, I'm sad, I'm mad, like something is not right, to give myself the luxury of like pure rebellion. And when I do it, I drape several kitchen towels like over myself and over the blankets, but basically you have to strip the bed afterwards. So I'm either gonna have this at my desk or I'm gonna have it in front of the TV. And if I get up from wherever I am and I do not have popcorn in my shirt and stuck to various places on my chest, then it wasn't the full experience. The full experience is like there's some in your pocket, in the waistband, down the shirt, stuck to your face, cheesy fingers, and that's how it should be. Greatest snack known to man. There's really nothing better than popcorn. This is the best way you could ever eat it. I'm not gonna share it with you in order to prove it. You have to make your own. Lean into it, enjoy it, self-care. There's nothing better than popcorn.